in today's social media world that's saturated and overabsorbed with, customer loyalty being more fickle and the attention span being shorter and shorter, in your view, Dennis, how do companies leverage that, whether it's a social media presence or in any other way, to build that brand awareness, that brand advocacy, those brand ambassadors?
Well, I think part of the answer is you can't rely on just one channel. This has got to apply in every single thing that you do, whether it's your social media approach, your traditional marketing approach, what happens in your location. It has to be consistent. So when people see something on social media and then they go to your location and there's a disconnect, that's going to be a dissatisfier. And they're going to put that back on social media. It's going to work against you. So the consistency, and again, I don't want to say Disney does it perfectly, but what they do is they've got a foundational philosophy that permeates everything so that it's a Disney experience, whether it's a movie, whether it's the park, whether you're online, you're playing a video game, that Disney brand shines through. And what I would recommend to people is having a clear understanding of what you want your brand to be. And so what does that look like? What does that sound like? So if you have that clear idea, that then you can weave into everything. When I work with consulting clients, I always start off as what are 3 things you would want your customers to say about their experience with you? Because that's really your brand. What people say or think about you. That's really your brand. So that then gives you something to say, all right, then what has to happen in our organization in order for our customers to say those things? And it becomes pretty clear then what those activities, what those behaviors that can then permeate all the different channels through which we interact with people. But then as leaders, we can take it another step. And are we hiring people that are wired to do those things? That's just part of their makeup. Are we onboarding people into our organization in a way that reflects those values, reflects that brand essence that we're trying to perpetuate? Are we communicating relentlessly with our people around those things? And so it goes back to those fundamental, what do we want the experience to be? And then you weave that into everything that you do.
In the end, you're talking about having clarity at the foundational level, right? What do you see with companies that you come in? Because I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're brought in because things aren't, let's say, not working as well as they would like them to. A company is
right. Yeah.
generating revenue, they're producing results, but maybe they feel like they're not thriving on all cylinders, or they want to up their level, or they've gotten feedback and they acknowledge that things can be improved. What is the source of not having that foundational clarity? In other words, what are people doing or omitting to lack that clarity?
They haven't taken the step back to say, what do we want the experience to be? They focus in on the product. How do we get the product out there? How do we get the service out there? Which is important. I mean, you have to do that. But if you don't then define what's our essence, what's the experience we're trying to create? What is our brand? What's the brand territory we want to own in the mind of a customer? Then you've missed what's going to really capture the heart of people. And so that's where I see the real gap out there is a lot of times we just haven't taken the time or put in the effort to define this. And so what happens then is you have a group of employees, regardless of how big or small the organization is, you have a group of employees who are really just making it up as they go along. Because there's no
guiding principles
to it.
And if I may add, there's so much pressure. Not only are they making it up as they go along, they're making it up really quickly.
Yeah. It was funny. I worked with a call center one time, and one of the representatives, I was doing some focus groups and everything. One of the representatives said, "Well, the thing that we're really held accountable for is call time. How many calls in a day can we do? So call time." And said, so what we do is if a call is going long, we just disconnect the call. because we know when the person calls back, they're going to end up with another agent. It's not going to come back to me. So my numbers look good, but I haven't satisfied the customer because all we're held accountable for is the call volume, the number of calls we handle. That's it. That's a real problem. So what was missing there is what we're doing in a help center is we're trying to help people. That's really what we're doing. But unless you are very clear on what that sounds like, what that looks like, you're just leaving it up to chance.
And we don't want to do that. For our listeners and our viewers of this podcast, thanks for being with us. The new ones that have joined us, thank you for choosing to be with us. If you like what we're discussing, make sure you subscribe, make sure you click the bell so you can follow us and don't miss out on future content like this and so much more.